Hello, good morning, guys, and this is Corning with Gautam, and today we will be talking about the Make a Library Part 1. So, let's dive in. So, here we have basically of a library which you create on your own, and my library basically gives the maximum of a list, the minimum of a list, the top three values, and it checks if the list is valid. So it basically checks if there's only numbers in the list. If it's not a number, then it will not work. It has to be it's basically a grade calculator. So basically when you input your grades, it tells you your maximum, your highest grade, your lowest grade, the top 3 grades you had, and basically first you check if the list is valid, because if there's an integer, if there's not anything but an integer, it won't work. Also, you check whether the grades are not negative and they're not greater than 100. So let's look at the maximum function. First, we check whether the list isn't valid. If it isn't valid, then return not a number. Else, the maximum value is -1. Remember, the is valid, make sure that all the values are greater than 0. So then we basically set the max equals to -1, and next then we loop through the list length, and basically if we check each value, if it's higher than the max, we reset the max, and after we loop through everything, we get the max. Let's use this as an example. Here we have -1, right? Then we get 68, then it updates to 68, then it's like, oh, 73 is bigger, it updates to 73. It skips 56 and 25, but then it updates on 92. We got the highest value of 92. That's how the max function works. Let's look at the minimum function. Basically the same logic. Here we start with function is minimum value of list. If it's not valid, then we return nan. The variable minimum basically is the first value of the list, or we could say 101. It still works the same. Then for variable I equals 1, you basically do for variable I equals 0. I'm just editing the code a little here. So for you set the minimum to 101, then you do the same thing, loop through every single value in the list and find the least value. Same here, we go through, we see 68 is less than 101, 73 is not less than 68. It updates to 56, then it updates to 25, and then it stops at 25 after checking that 92 is higher than our original value and final value of 25. Then let's do the top 3. This one has a little complex logic here. It basically function loops through and displays the 3 highest values. So first we check if the list is valid as always. Then we set the temporary variable, and then basically we loop through the whole list, and we set the variable is done. Then we loop through the whole list again. So basically we have 2 loops, I and j. So what we do is we go through I basically goes through every single value in the list, while j here, you can clearly notice the difference that you subtract the index from it. So basically we're going from this one goes starting to the end, and then j goes from end to the start. So then we check if list j is less than list j plus 1. So basically we're checking that if the value j is less than the value of the one in front of it, then the temporary takes list j, and next thing you set the list j equals to the value next of it. Then you set the next value to temp, and then you set is done false. So what does all this mean? First we loop through. The I loop doesn't the I loop just basically makes sure we go through each value in the list. Then let's take this one for example. Let's take this list. So we start, and next then we check that we go over here. So we subtract I. So I in this case would be 0. We start from 0. There is no +1. So that means I becomes 1. We increment it, and then this becomes 1. So we go from the list length -1, 25. So then we check 25. So 25 is less than 92. So then you take 25 as the temporary, and then we switch the values basically. We take we turn this into 92 and then this into 25. You can see that as we're switching. Then we do the same thing for these two. We see 92 is greater than 56. 92 is greater than 56. We can see the same for 73. That is true. So 92 and then 73. Then we can do the same for this. It's 92 and then 68. Then it does it again, just basically now it does the whole thing again. Then we can see 73 and 68, 73, 68. That's how it works. Let's just test that out real quick by doing the debugging, and let's run. We can see that we get so we can see that we get the top three: 92, 73, 68, 5, 4, and 3. So we can see that our code is working well and that it is good. So now let's just put this back, and yep. So then the isValid function, like we saw before, function isValid list. If the list length is equal to 0, then you return false. It is not valid because there is no list. Then you do the same thing. You use the type of, which basically returns the type. If the type of list I is not a number, you return false, or it's less than 0, return false, or if it's greater than 100. And you can see that that's why we got NaN here, because 1000 is obviously greater than 100, first thing, and second, we have 234 here. So that is why we have this. That's why we have these two executed successfully while these two have NaNs. Or we can just remove this if we're just doing this as normal. So let's just rerun it. And we can see we got 1658, 101, and we got 864, 875, 864, 857, and 754. But let's just resume. As we are, this is basically a grade. It's basically for grades. So basically we're just trying to make sure that we have actual valid grade percentages. And yep, that's building the library. Then you just test the classmates library. Then end of the survey. Let's open that. So just do the end of the survey. It's fine. And yep, so this is the project Make a Library. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to share and subscribe. This is Coding with Gautam, and have a good day.